Record. All right, so welcome to Awaken Your Divine Message. I'm Crystal Davis, and awakening is really the way that I've built my business. It's been this you know, those of us that are here to awaken, I love this image that you see in front of you, right? Standing and having this larger, and that's really what divine message means, right? There's this larger message that's just in your soul. It's in your very being. You may not even know um even today, and maybe you do know, but this image is of this speaker, this teacher, this leader, the ones, those of us that are here to truly, and I love that expression that we're all called to lead. It's whether we do or not. Okay. So if you're here, you've been called to lead, and you're at least in the beginning here, you're saying yes to that. And so kudos to you for stepping into this class today. And then awakening to that divine message, because let's face it, for eons, humanity has been driven by what we think, what we say, and what we do. And it's true. That's really important. We have to think, we have to say, and we have to take action. But then there's this part of us, this part that is soul driven, divinely driven, right? This part of ourselves that has to be awakened to. And so this class is about how to awaken to a divine message that's much larger than you may even know that you're here to express. So just briefly, my story, 2009, started my company. Within a couple of years, had taken just about every marketing, every business development class, every spiritual development, like law of attraction was my thing. I knew I wanted to be a law of attraction mentor and teacher. Thought I had it. Why aren't the clients coming? Why isn't this growing as big as, why aren't I standing up in front of a large group of people giving a message? Why? Well, what I would learn through the next 13 years or so is that I had to awaken to a divine message that was something that I couldn't think my way into. I had to receive. That's a big piece. And this isn't in your workbook, by the way, but a divine download is the way we awaken, right? Awaken to the divine guidance and taking it, receiving, not thinking as much as receiving, and then taking the thought that we receive and being a part of that higher calling. Good. I didn't know how that was going to come through, but I think that was, I feel really, really, oh gosh, just divinely connected to that. So I hope that helps at least set the frame for today. Okay. So the piece that I love this second image of standing in the world, wherever you may be. Gosh, maybe even people that have been on stages or taught classes, and that was me, right? I had actually, by 2012, well, 13 and 14-ish, I built over, a semi-successful business. I was approaching, I'd gotten over 50,000 in my business, and, on my way to six figures. And yet I still felt unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. So that hadn't really changed, even though I thought I was teaching and giving the message that I was supposed to give. Well, being this person where you feel unseen and unheard and misunderstood. Now, how deep that may be for you, it may be, I'm not really sure about that, Crystal, and that's okay. Down here is really what it means, right? You aren't connecting with your tribe of ideal clients in the most powerful way. Even again, I had clients, but it still wasn't the deep, abiding connection with them that I wanted, because the awakening within me still had to happen, right? So I talk about the hidden mirror here as we begin looking at how to awaken to your divine message, to just begin to sow the seeds for you of, it's a hidden mirror, because whatever is mirrored in the world that we see, right? For me, some examples were, they just don't get me. They don't understand me. They never will, and feeling, and that was in my six-figure government job. I worked for the FBI. I felt that way there, and then carried that into my business. this piece had to be healed, because there's a hidden mirror between you and the world, right? And in order to awaken, that's really what we're talking about, to awaken the parts of our soul that is saying, I'm not going to let you be too successful in the physical world, because really what happens, I've always had this thought, what happens when we're successful out there? We kind of say, okay, well, it must be working. Okay, even though there's more. So what the universe in its infinite glory does is says, okay, well, um, you're not going to get what you want. And I like to say the saying that it always feels to me like things are over amplified. It's like, how can this be so bad? Or how can this feel so bad? And I always like to say, one of my bosses I worked for years ago at the Treasury Department in the government for 17 years, and told me, he said, you have the emphasis on the wrong syllable. And it reminds me of that when I think about what happens in this hidden mirror, where we say we want to be that divine messenger, that speaker that's, inspiring, uplifting, and helping, thousands of people, right? But yet what we're getting is, oh gosh, I can't tell you how many classes and things that I've taught to literally nobody, right? And so the hidden mirror was, they can't see you, they can't hear you, they can't understand you. So I deep in the pain of feeling that way, right? And of course, the struggle of not being able to connect with the right people. All of that kind of goes into hand in hand, right? Because think about it, the opposite of I feel I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm not understood is I am seen, I am heard, I am understood, right? So if any of this is resonating, this is the divine working with and through you, pulling you toward your higher purpose, to your divine message. Okay, it's so powerful. And so, yeah, when you look at this, and as you're listening to me, looking at your workbook, what part of you is feeling, Ernest, you might want to mute yourself. I think you're unmuted. What part of you, right? Or what story do you have? This is all part of your messaging, by the way, right? Think about and write down and journal, what part of me up until now has felt unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. And maybe you're on the other side of it. Oh, I've healed that. And now I've gone from the pain of feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. Now I feel it. And this is what I did to get there. That's how you build a divine message, right? This was the pain. This is where I wanted to go. And this is how I got there, right? That's how it all works. So really journaling about that and taking notes about, okay, what was your hidden mirror? Or maybe what is your hidden mirror now? Okay, and it really helps you to gain clarity as you really journal about that. And then deepening this concept of the hidden mirror. The thing that kept coming, there's always something deeper that keeps coming up for you. You're here like on the person on the platform feeling like ships passing in the night and people just not seeing them, which is probably one of the deeper pains that we can experience, right? Certainly for me, as example of stepping into a business, leaving a 6-figure job where, could have been completely comfortable, but not seen, heard, and understood, right? Moving from that part of the hidden mirror and taking it deeper as I stepped into my job and into my business and worked to build this, my own thing, right? My own business systems and all of that, and doing the networking and the marketing, and yet to crickets, right? People aren't showing up in the way that you really are fulfilling, right? That's the other piece, right? Are the people that are showing up for you in your business and the message that you've been delivering, how fulfilling really is it? And there you can just take a deep breath and just feel right into your heart space about that, right? And the power of observation, I tell you, that is an advanced skill. It's something, I started business in 2009. By 2017, 18, and 19, I started to really begin to be an observer of my reality rather than observe it, feel it, see it more clearly, rather than being the sponge that just takes in and believes whatever you hear kind of thing, right? So as I would say, like 5 or 6 years into my business, I started to really this core wound started to come to the surface, right? So there is a core wound that keeps surfacing as you work to communicate your divine message. And this image over here, the reason I share this image is usually related to a parent. And our fathers are actually a major mirror for us about, right? If you think of well, let's say masculine energy, the mother can be masculine energy as well, right? Because it's really about energy. It's not necessarily about the father or the mother. For these stories that keep surfacing, and I'll just tell you mine. Well, actually, I wrote a chapter in an anthology book with others a few years ago in 2017, by the way, called Heal Thyself. And I talked about the story that kept just coming into what happens when we get silent, take a breath, and do that more and more observe. These stories just come to the surface, and you're like, what does that have to do with my struggles to be seen, heard, and understood, to have the business that I would really love? And so for me, this image of looking in a mirror and what's reflected back to me was how my dad saw me. So the story was actually even going back even before I was conscious. I was hidden from birth was part of the story that I told in this anthology book, because my parents had me at home. And there's the wound kept surfacing from, I'm not important. They didn't take me to the hospital. They didn't keep me safe. They didn't take me to the hospital. Oh, and the biggest part of the story was they didn't tell anybody that they were pregnant for me. Whoops, there she is, and so that was deeply painful to my inner child, to me, my psyche. And it just kept being triggered by the work I was doing. Because so here is what the hidden mirror is. There's layers to it. There's the projection field with the people that are around you. And then there's the things that float into your consciousness that may be a relationship with a parent, or, it can be really anything, any relationship, core relationship. Because what it is a core wound, and it keeps surfacing. And what it does is it's deepening that pain of feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. Again, because, well, I haven't said this yet. The solution's not out there, right? It's within us. And so this hidden mirror is to say, well, if I can't find the solution, that makes sense, doesn't it? If I can't find the solution in my husband or my wife or my sister or society or the government, can't find the solution there, it must be here. God bless the universe, because it's what it's constantly trying to get us to do, to go within and do the work to bring forth our truth. Okay, so there's even a third layer, and this third layer which really gets us to the core wound. This hidden mirror between you and your inner child. So, because here's the really interesting thing, that even when you go inside and you start listening to yourself, it's still a work of art to actually understand what's going on inside of yourself. And the truth is, your inner child holds the key to your divine message. And if she felt, okay, my story, they didn't see me when I worked for the government. They didn't see me when I started my business. Oh, my dad didn't see me. Oh, and the other thing, he didn't say he loved me. My parents didn't see me. They didn't celebrate me being born. You can see this inner turmoil happening in my own story. Think about yourself again. Where are these themes coming up for you? And then to the inner child, that's actually a whole nother workshop, but I do just wanted to point that out, that this observing and going deep within ourselves to listen to that part. So what we're going to do through the rest of today's presentation, how are we doing on time? Yeah, we got good on time, about 20 after the hour here. So what we're going to do is look at some pieces of what the awakening process looks like. Because, well, let me just say this about the inner child. When you get to the place of having, yes, this is what I need to share here. When you get to a place of having the parts of you, all the parts of you that are here to help you express your divine message, right? The reason it's the key to your divine message is that these aspects of your inner child are qualities of yourself, are divine expressions of who you are that have been repressed. There's just one really important reason why. You didn't even know they existed, going back to, right, day one. You didn't have a roadmap. If you don't know it, well, first off, we come into the world and we're looking to other people to tell us what to do, and we kind of learn that way, right? Well, now what we're evolving to, what humanity is evolving to is, wow, you mean I'm the creator, right? This is Law of Attraction 101. I'm the creator of my reality. Okay, so then which part of me holds the divine message? And so there's a story I like to tell about something that I think we all can identify with, that very much is your inner child. In fact, a few years ago, my nephew and his wife had gotten a cat. I don't remember them telling me where they got it from, but I went to their house to help them to move. And this cat, they had set, it was in a cage. I'm like, oh, it was a kitten. It wasn't very old. A young cat, let's just say that. And so I'm like, oh, let me pet it. Pulled open the gate to the cage and put my hand in to pet it. And it was not having any of it. It backed squarely into the corner and was terrified, absolutely terrified. And so I was already fairly good at being the conscious observer of my reality to say, oh, and and it's a beautiful thing, right? Those of us that are conscious, we don't force things, right? So what I did is I just left my hand just sit there for several seconds, I don't know, a minute or two. And after a little while, the cat came toward me. That was a signal of trust that I was endeavoring to give to this animal that was afraid and terrified and probably maybe never had much positive human contact. The same is true with our inner child. We have I'm going to get into that in a minute. We have multiple aspects of the inner child that desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. So much like that young cat, what happens when, it's the old adage of trying to force things? Yeah. So your divine message does not come through, again, thinking your way and forcing your way to it. It comes through ease, through grace, through allowing that to come to your consciousness, come into your awareness. And this is why your inner child holds the key. Because as long as we have aspects and part of ourselves that are terrified, that's literally backing away from being on that stage, from the ideal and perfect client, from expressing your truth, from even simple things about being seen, heard, and understood, right? If it's backing away, and you don't know that because logically your mind's saying, well, I should be able to get up on that stage, deliver my divine message, and yay, he or she is the greatest speaker ever, right? That's logic. That's what we kind of tend to do. But when we begin to really connect with this part of ourselves that's terrified, then we become a loving mother to ourselves. And we learn to build a relationship. Yeah, so I have this other great analogy I like to use is a simple one of just go down the street this afternoon or, after we get off today's class and ask the first stranger you walk up to, say, hey, you're really good looking. I'd love to marry you. And what would that stranger do? He or she's going to run in the opposite direction, right? That's your inner child. If where there is no relationship with ourselves, there is only a separation. And so it's the divine message, and the downloading of it and the receiving of it is about this healing and transformational work that we need to do within ourselves to help the inner child to feel safe. When she or he feels safe, the doors begin to open because she is allowing that. Okay. All right. And as you heal, your divine message becomes, these are a couple of my favorites. You become more compassionate, unconditional loving, and ultimately you are unique to you. You are who you're here to be, right? And so those are just a few examples. Again, in your workbook, I left a space there for you to say, okay, what else? As you heal, and this might come from you doing your own inner work of what else, what other qualities have you discovered as you've done this inner transformational healing work with yourself, right? And I love this quote. This sprang into my mind this afternoon. This is the last thing I added to the slides today, which is from Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. If you've not read it, you should. If you have not, I mean, if you haven't read it, you should. If you have, you know what I mean. Every failure, doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, or where you haven't been and what you haven't done, it doesn't matter. Because here's the thing, every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. And my divine message, right, I shared some of that with you. And then a big piece, but chunk between 2011, when I left my 6-figure government job, to now was bankruptcy, foreclosure, one money struggle after another. I had to believe what Napoleon Hill is saying here and learn how it's true that every failure brings. Because for years it was, oh, I feel bad, I feel guilty, I should have stayed, I shouldn't have done this. Then I'm reflecting on this beautiful work that I'm bringing to you today, and I'm going, well, I wouldn't have this had I not failed incredibly badly, right? The gifts that come from our failures are tremendous. Okay, and really everything that I'm sharing with you about the inner child and that deepest layer of healing, transformation, no work, I wouldn't have that had I stopped at any point during my journey, right? So really, and that's, again, law of attraction. Oh, shoot. Oh, okay. I guess we're going to have to end. I have to wrap this out soon. Oh, I clicked on the wrong link or gave you the wrong link to my Zoom. Okay, well, let me get rid of that. 9 minutes. Okay. We'll just have to come back on here. Apologize for that. Sometimes I click on the wrong, I don't know how I get the wrong Zoom on my computer, but I have a paid account, but unfortunately we're not on that link. Okay, so healing with the communication axis. This is where we get into some nutsy boltsy stuff about what, how you can get in there down through those layers and really connect with your inner child. Okay, so we talked about the need to be seen, heard, and understood. Now you know it's pointing you to the divine message that you alone can deliver. Again, it's painful to be in that place of not being seen, heard, and understood. Okay. But without it, you wouldn't go within, you wouldn't find the message that's yours. Okay. Okay. And so we've talked about this. It's an unconscious need that developed early in childhood, as the parts of you that holds the key to your divine message was never fully accepted into your consciousness. Okay. Again, if you don't know it's there, you don't know these parts of you exist, we reject, we hold them down. Okay, so but how do you access them? You access them by knowing your human design. Now, this isn't a human design workshop. I'll be doing one of those later, but human design is what I call your roadmap, right? It's that if you want to go from West Virginia to New York, you need a roadmap in order to get from one place to another. Well, if we want to become, go from these pain points of not being seen, heard, and understood and go to the divine messenger that we're really here to be, well, then we need a roadmap, okay? And that's what human design is. And if you go in your workbooks, I actually have a link that you can sign up for a complimentary session. I can give you your chart. We can chat for 15 minutes about your chart if you would like to know more about that. But the key piece that we're talking about right now, and it matters right now because the sun is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So human design, when you go over here into the chart and you look at all these astrological symbols, and very basic human design, when you go to an astrological symbol and you go to a gate, like right here, this little person with the hat on top, this is Mercury. You have two gates, and this is my chart. So I have the gate 6.5, which is conflict resolution, and the gate of new beginnings. Conflict resolution and new beginnings. That's my Mercury. Jupiter, big picture, themes, right? So we take all those details, and we lump them and create themes, right? So details from Mercury become big picture themes. Jupiter over here, and I've actually got the words right beside them, so your eyes will go to it really quickly. I have the gate 10, which is the gate of behavior or self-love, and the gate of joy in my unconscious. The black numbers are conscious, the red numbers are unconscious. Okay. So right now, because the sun is in Gemini and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, what it does is when the sun is in Gemini between around May 21st to June 21st, you are being drawn into the work on your divine message. It happens every year. There is a cyclical nature to your work with finding your awakening work. In fact, this is just one class. I'm going to be doing a monthly class on awakening through the different aspects of your human design, these different symbols and what they mean and how you can work with them. Right now, it's healing the communication axis with Mercury and Jupiter. All right. So remember, Mercury is detailed communication. We want to be I'll show you some examples here in a minute. But first, I wanted to give you this piece. When you're looking at your human design, one piece about your divine message is unconscious Mercury. Unconscious Mercury is powerful because it's where you have an automatic response. And so imagine everybody you talk to, wherever you go, when they say, hey, how you doing today? Your response is, well, I'm starting this great new project, or I've started this great new yoga class, or I'm doing this new thing, or that's me. Because my unconscious Mercury, my automatic response is always new beginnings. Let me tell you about this new beginning. Oh, in fact, I was at a car dealership a few years ago with my sister. She was getting a new car. And the fellow went, oh, my back hurts. And I'm like, well, you can just stretch. Let's stretch together. And so those are just examples. So you want to know what your unconscious Mercury is because you want to know what your automatic response is. Because as a child, you simply tried to be you. You used your automatic response in the best way you knew how. You showed up. You responded without regard to what was being said to you. That's your automatic response. But what happens? It's like hitting a brick wall. I was my coal miner father, my mom, a housewife, but she actually had a mental illness. My siblings, none of them really got me. This is where this weird concept comes from. Ernest, you and I were talking about before we started today, right? And so my automatic response was not well received. And so it felt like I was wrong, bad, or broken, right? That was the inner child's experience. She felt rejected and buried. And so not until we go out and say, I'm going to live the life that I want, I'm going to create the business and life of my dreams, does the buried pain surface each time you put yourself out there to build your business, right? And so I've got the beach ball effect here. What the beach ball effect is when you try to hold a beach ball underwater, what happens? Or try to hold more than one beach ball underwater. Boom, it's going to bump up and it's going to hit you right in the face, right? Okay, so that is a problem. that we don't want to ever have again. True? Okay, so this is what happens when we have these parts of our elements of our human design that we, again, we just don't know. And when we have something like our own automatic response, why it can be so painful and why we bury it and repress it for so long. After what I'm going to have to do, because this is going to run out, I'm going to have to go find my link. I'm going to pop it into the class page and I'm going to send it to you all because I have really no idea how I got onto the free version when I have a paid version of Zoom. I'm going to pop it in there and I want you to all come back so we can finish the slides. Okay, because we only have a couple more minutes here. Unfortunately, the recording's not going to be all the way through. But let's, oh yeah, let me go through that to wrap up for the recording. Okay, so Mercury, what are the details of your divine message? You felt unseen. What did you do to feel seen? Unheard, what do you do to feel heard? Misunderstood, what do you do to feel understood? Okay. Jupiter, what are the big picture themes? And I like to look at this from the ways of being, right? How do we be instead of do? Do is more granular, being is a way of showing up, right? And here's some examples. Again, Mercury details, ways you demonstrate anger. To communicate Jupiter themes of peace, satisfaction, success, and surprise. More Mercury. Again, me, I left my six-figure job. I found authentic self-expression, right? You can see one's a detail, one's a theme. I became a six-figure business owner. 2, I lead with compassion and unconditional love. I healed my relationship with my inner child. I discovered what made me uniquely brilliant. You want to look at your journey in that way of details. And right now, again, with the sun in Gemini is a perfect time to do that. Okay, and then finally, Gemini season and the axis of self-mastery, I already said, between June 21st and up until June 21st. And then it moves into Cancer on June 21st. And we start to look at the balance of being and doing axis, which is the next class I'm going to do. Okay, here's some statements that relate to each of those, but we'll talk about those after because I think we made it. Again, come back. I'm going to share the link on the page. And Catherine, you should have my my Zoom link as well, but I'll make sure to email it to you. So please come back. I'm sure this is going to stop any second now. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Not bad. I did that in 37 seconds. Okay, let's stop the share. I don't know. I thought it was going to boot me out. It says less than a minute. Weird.